Welcome into another edition of Bourbon South. Parham and Steve Thomason, and we'll talk a little restaurants today, a little bar program. Our man Spencer from St. Leo joining us for this special episode that features Cathead a little bit. Old Soul out of Jackson, Mississippi. We've got two of their really good bottles, including one that is very limited, the estate collection. We'll get into that a little bit here on today's show, and then after we do that, Spencer brought his special bottle. We have I say barrel proof, but it means more than that, an E.H. Taylor. We'll get into that as well coming up. So appreciate you guys coming with us again this week as we talk about a Mississippi company and then sample one of one of Spencer's favorite bottles as well. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate the time today. I talked to you, I guess, about a month and a half ago or so, and then you got this bottle in, the estate collection from Old Soul, and said maybe it's time to do it. So appreciate you being here with us.
Oh yeah, man. Appreciate it.
So we'll get into some of your background, how you got to St. Leo, what interests you about the restaurant collection, that kind of things. But since I went ahead with the bottles a little bit, tell us what we have in front of us, and then we'll go from there.
So this is the Old Soul Estate Collection on the, camera left. This is their first ever stuff they put out of all their own juice. I don't know that people know that they hadn't got to the point of, they weren't old enough to put out their own juice yet. So this is kind of a wheated mash bill, which is insanely different. All the other stuff they put out was a high rye, and it drinks a little, has a little more corn to it, but this is their first wheated mash bill that contains zero rye, so it's pretty rare for them.
We're going to do that against their Tintype release, their series number 1 from 2022. I have a bottle of that here with us as well. You gave that to us here recently at a special bourbon night there at St. Leo. We'll probably get into that a little bit over the show. And then what's the bottle you brought along for us as well?
So this is a 2018. It's actually the batch 7th E.H. Taylor barrel proof. I actually got this from a Bourbon Club buddy, Jeff Harrington, brought me this bottle from Nashville. The cool and the saddest part about this is it came out in 2018, and if you know the BTAC stuff from the E.H. Taylors come out in the end of the year, early 2019, we all know what happened there, right? COVID happened, so they didn't have any of the whiskey awards. So sadly, this is my favorite thing that never got to enter a whiskey awards. If you look on their awards online, you see they just skip 3 years, and this is the first one they skipped over. So sadly, this one never got a chance to throw their hat in the ring or anything per se, but it is the most delicious thing I've ever tasted.
Well, regardless of award or not, Chase are going to be happy to sample this.
Well, it's my first, so I mean, it's my favorite thing I've ever had. So it matters to me.
When you say that, you mean literally the best thing you've ever had?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I am very spoiled. I mean, this person right here has let me taste things I have no business tasting, and I've had things up here that, I mean, I've had an OFC 95 up here that someone just passed to me and didn't tell me what it was until I drank it, and I was kind of freaked out at that point. But this is literally like my favorite thing.
We're going to close. We'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to start with the Cathead and or the Old Soul from, obviously, still by Cathead. Had their products here. And Cathead, a long-time friend of the podcast. I mean, all the way back to the Andy Kennedy days when we had that show down in Jackson, Steve.
I remember it.
When Andy and Raheem and he excited the crowd. That's what he was drinking that night. And that's what we did, because I've told this story. He didn't even realize that he was, and this is like one of our most famed episodes. We had the live show down at the Westin, and we'd had Andy booked for 2 months, something like that. He just knew he was supposed to go down there, and he had gone. He went to see some donors, some boosters, was hanging out. We were hanging out at the bar at the Westin, and we said, "Hey, you ready?" And he just got up, was following us, and he leaned over and he goes, "What are we doing?" And I said, "You're about to go talk in front of 500 people." And he goes, "Okay, no problem." He says, "What do I need to do?" I said, "Just talk good about Cathead." Dude was electric. Every 3 minutes, he's hey, cat, la da 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 da. He told story after story. He brought the house down. He was fantastic. But yeah, Cathead long had been with us. I was excited about the Tintype. Obviously, we have all had it sitting here, but we'll talk about that a little bit. And then I have not had the estate collection, so it'll be cool to go through these and celebrate a couple of their better bottles that have come out at this point. So
I haven't tried that one either, but I was actually in a store the other day, and the Cathead rep was in, and or Old Soul rep was in. And of course, he reps Old Soul, Cathead, the vodka and everything. And he mentioned, "Hey, we've got a new 7-year wheater that's pretty good." And I'm like, I guess I'll be happy to try that one out. So thanks for bringing that out, Spencer. Man, looking forward to it.
It's actually 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days. So I don't know if there's any that's the only thing I didn't really have all the information about, but I thought there's got to be a reason for that. But sounds lucky at least.
So we'll pour these up in a second, but first, you're in the restaurant every single day. I mean, it's where your career is now. What is it you like about it? What is it about the restaurant business and the day-to-day that excites you still?
Well, the best way to describe it is it's controlled chaos. You know what I mean? I've worked in restaurants. In some capacity, I worked in concession stands when I was 15, bagging peanuts, doing stuff like that. And I've just always enjoyed that no day is the same as the next day. And you've never seen it all because every single day you'll see something different, like something we talked about before the show that we can't talk about the show. But it's every day something different. I love that about this. Did I ever tell you the story about how I started working at St. Leon?
No clue.
Okay, so I'd been working. I was an area director of three different Buffalo Wild Wings, and I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't something I enjoyed going to every day and traveling for. And so I just took a couple months off, and then I randomly got an email from St. Leo that was asking me to come in and apply for a kitchen manager position or some kitchen position. I was kind of like, I didn't even apply for this job, right? So I was about to take a job at a hotel. I show up there and I hear him out, and I was like, man, you guys seem awesome, but in no way am I interested in working in a kitchen again, And they're like, well, come back 3 days later and we'll pitch you something else. And then 3 years later, here I am. It was a happy accident that I think LinkedIn happened to send me an email on accident or something. Yeah, that's how I got the job. It was complete happenstance. So here we are 3 years later. I'm the operations manager, AGM, scheduling manager, whatever you want to call it. But it's a happy accident.
You mostly just want to be the bourbon czar.
Yeah.
That is the
basically,
goal. That is the goal of what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I've served my time and I've earned enough trust to where every now and then I can be like, please don't be mad, but we have 3 bottles of 10-year Jimmy Red Corn. I promise it's the rarest thing we'll ever get. And she's like, you say that 10 times a month. And I'm like, I promise. It's also true, but I'm very, very spoiled in that regard.
It's so funny because, when Emily opened St. Leo, I was the bourbon procurer. I was getting, bourbons for them a lot, getting some of the higher end bourbons. And Emily just kept building. And we were talking one time and, I said, well, I know you don't want to be the bourbon. She goes, oh, no, I want to have the best bourbon selection in Oxford, to go along with the best restaurant, which it obviously is. And it's just built. And then Spencer rolled in. He took a little load off me. I'm not needed as much now because they have Spencer. I guess that's good and bad. But, I'll say this, the bourbon program there is outstanding. Well, they have some good pours.
I appreciate that.
And I still might supply a bottle every now and then.
So what concession stands were you shoveling peanuts at when you were 15?
Okay, so if you've ever been to Snowden Grove in South Haven, so it wasn't that big at the time. So I went from there, moved on up to the grill house, which that was a big move for me. Mm-hmm. Where I got all my friends' jobs. I thought the coolest part about it was I got to drive a golf cart all day. And I just thought that was the coolest job in the world. So I did that for 3 or 4 years. My mom worked in the gift shop in her off time as a teacher, and just everybody I knew was there every time. We worked 15-hour days, Saturdays and Sundays making money. It's fun, man. It's like hanging out with my friends and getting paid.
Gotcha. This is the part of the show where Steve starts itching, so let's pour the first I get about 4.5 minutes of being a journalist, and after that he's yelling at me.
Oh, it's good because your internal clock is starting to work without me even having to say something to you.
We're going to start with the new one. Is that what we're doing here? So we're going to move up in proof from one to the next. Again, 7 years, 7 months, 7 days on this. I believe I saw it was 100 proof. If I'm correct on that. Yeah.
It came out of the barrel 125, and they brought it down to 100 proof.
Okay, so there you go. Again, pipe still aged 7 years from the estate collection. Steve, I'll let you open it and pour it up. Get it going here. Good little healthy.
What else do you know about this bottle, Spencer? Anything else to add to it? It's their own juice, 100 proof.
Yeah, it went at 116, came out at 125. I don't know if I said this already. There was 9 barrels. I think there's exactly 6 bottles to a case. So I think there's 1,500 of these that exist ever. So this will never come out the same again. And my favorite thing, if you look at the front of this, it says, I think, made only for Mississippi on the bottle. So it was only sold in Mississippi. Never went out of state, nothing like that. It's only for our people.
Number 3 char on the oak barrel, so that should add a little toast to it. Looks interesting.
It's great. It's actually used all Mississippi grains, too. So they didn't source any grains.
Oh, cool.
It's all made in-house.
So when did you first try it?
I got to taste one of their sample bottles, I want to say 3 weeks ago. He had brought me this and something else. And the other one, as soon as I tasted this, I was like, man, you don't even have to open the other bottle. I'm all about this. I don't even want to taste the other stuff. And he asked me if I wanted any. I said, yeah, I'll take as much as we can get. And we got a 6-pack, and I felt spoiled for getting that. But it was amazing. It had been open for a little bit longer. This one has only been open about 3 or 4 days. That one I think had been open for a while because it had about half the bottle. It didn't even have a sticker yet. He had to show me what the sticker was going to look like on his phone, but I was very interested and came in, and I've liked what I've had so far. I've had about half of maybe an ounce pour so far, so I kind of wanted to experience it with you guys again.
We're drinking the Old Soul bottles, both of them, this one and the Tintype coming up, out of the Libby glasses that we talked about on the show with Katie Pittenger from the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. a few weeks ago. These glasses were designed by master distillers in Kentucky for the optimal way to experience bourbon, kind of the new version of a Glencairn. A wider top on it, get a little more of the nose, be able to grab a little, let it open up a little bit. So we are using those for the first time on the show. These lidded glasses that we've got some that are etched as well, but you can get these exact glasses on Amazon with the wood tasting tray as well. So that
Plus, you can fit more whiskey in here.
you can a lot more. Yeah.
And I don't know if you said this, no rye in this mash bill.
Absolutely not.
73% corn, 16 wheat, 11% malted barley. So that'll be very interesting. Chase knows I used to not be a big rye guy. In the last few years, I've really kind of gotten into some high rye mash bills because of the spice they bring.
Well, that's why I kind of wanted to bring this and this because, I mean, you've changed since I met you. I mean, I remember at first, like, you weren't a huge rye fan, and then it seems like every bottle I see, you're like, have you tasted the new Michter's 10 rye? I mean, you're like the biggest Michter's rye fan I know. And Chase, on the other hand, from just talking to him in the restaurant, I mean, he likes, from what I could gather,
gasoline,
like, interesting stuff, hot, but at least it's got to be able to talk to something other than just being like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to taste my food after this, but that was delicious.
It's weird, you get the weed even on the nose, like it's that, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like a grass way, but it is. You can tell it's a heavy weeder even on the nose of this.
It's almost like fresh bread,
That's good. Yeah,
I just left the office and Price was baking bread when I left, so it's still on my nose a little bit.
That's a really good example of it right there.
Yeah, and with this kind of similar to me, and it sounds crazy saying this, but that Jimmy Red Corn 10-year, because it kind of has like candy corn, like kind of sweetness to it, where it almost has. When I first tasted it, I thought I was getting like citrus from it, but it almost is more like a Honeycrisp apple is kind of what I get at the end, or if like you've ever had that, what is it, Martinelli's apple juice? That aftertaste you have in those little glass jars. I wish they still carry those at Bottle Tree, but they don't get them anymore.
I definitely call this a soft weeder.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is. It really is. It is as level mid-palate. To me, it's just a super heavy vanilla. And I want to throw some kind of cereal in there, because there is a little wheat, some kind of grain to it. I can't really peg that. I hadn't eaten cereal in probably like 30 years, so I've kind of lost that.
Again, you one of those little white sticks that come in the Chex Mix? I don't know what those are called. Those little bread sticks in there? Yeah. That's kind of what I was kind of getting towards the end there, because it finishes so smooth.
I'd say for only 100 proof, too, the finish is pretty deep and long. I mean, there's some good quality on the end there.
Yeah, I mean, some of the burn people associate with, even over 90 proof, I get none, especially from how long this bottle's been open.
I tell you, if you're somebody just getting into bourbon and you've been trying it for a little while and you want to take another little step or whatever, this would be a really good bottle to try.
Yeah, hopefully they have a really good friend that can help them find one. But this would be something awesome to taste.
You definitely get the corn. There's a heavy corn on this thing. There's the wheat, as you said. I'm with you. You said it now, and it's stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
But the bread, the baking, maybe a little bit of some kind of fruit in a pie or something like that's kind of what this is.
Well, I hate I did that. That's the last thing I ever do is I hate giving my notes before somebody tastes it. I hate telling people what it's going to taste like.
But and we've talked about this. Your tasting notes, your nose, it's all memories, and a lot of times somebody will jar it when they say something like now. There's some kind of pie crust in there I'm trying to identify.
Yeah.
With a pie that I'm thinking, and I can't really.
It's a sweet. It's a pie. It's like it's a tart apple pie. It's not the really sweet sugary, but it's not citrus, but it's a tart fruit. It's something with some bite to it a little bit. That's what it is. And
normally I used to, and I kind of still stick to this when I'm like for doing tastings or if I'm tasting stuff with people who haven't maybe tasted as many things as I've gotten to. Is like I don't really like saying things that like have 14 ingredients to it, And then one day, it's either Steve or Wes, we were doing one of our barrel tastings, and they were like, "Man, this tastes like a Hostess cherry tart, those little fried pies," and I was like, "All right, yeah, it kind of does." My mom used to eat those like every day, and I was like, "That's exactly what this tastes like." I think it might have been like a Stag Junior or something. We were kind of tasting off to the side or something, but.
Easily, if there was a cherry note to it, it was a Stag Junior or an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, or even a George
that might have been what it was. It might have been a Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff, though. I mean, it's different. I mean, once we get to that, I guess we'll find out. I mean, it's nothing like any old solo product of it. I like both things, but this is kind of more of my alley right here.
So you mentioned the barrel program at St. Leo.
Oh yeah.
Who's asking? Why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us about it, sir?
I know you talked about it a little bit. It looked like he was going to be like, the one time you were talking about it. Yeah, so at first we weren't super like open about it. It was kind of like you know thing. Now every now and then I'll kind of like cruise the floor, and if I've seen about the turtle glass, which typically what whiskey gets poured in, I'll kind of just slide one next to him. Like he said he's had it, and people look at him crazy like, what did he just give that guy?
Yeah.
So what we do is, and it was, I will say Steve did kind of champion this at first, and we've kind of run with it from now, is we get about 10 to like 17 bottles from different liquor stores that are all in Mississippi. They get about 3 like different barrel picks that they really enjoy or they think are special, and they pretty much save about 3 to 4 bottles for us. We'll get a little group together, taste through those, try and get down to about 5 and 6. This last time took us like 2 tries because the first one got a little out of hand. Great time, but we had to get back together and be like, okay, we need tasting notes. We didn't write anything down. I lost my notepad, but it's a great time, and it's really something interesting. It's something I've never seen anywhere else. And like I did say, it was Steve's original idea, so credit to this guy. But I've had a great time picking through things, talking about things with people, introducing them to stuff we've never had. And we also trying to price people out, because a lot of times one of the things about bourbon is it's expensive sometimes, especially some of the bottles we have out here. Even if you wanted to try them, $80, $300, $500 is a lot of money to some people, especially to have one bottle of something that you're just hoping is good. So I'll let people taste things. We'll walk through. We only do, I think it's 2 ounces, it's $20 a pour, and we do little flights for, I think it's 3 1 ounce pours for $30. So it's pretty approachable.
The flight's a really cool thing, especially when you're with people. Pick 3. Like I said, ask for the book. Pick 3. Let everybody try things. I typically try to do that if I'm with anybody that hasn't been or it's fairly new. That's the play, because you can pick 3 that get you a good range and you get to try stuff and have some fun. It's whatever. And if you want to. You're not important at all, but if you want to look important, just ask for the book, and they'll slide it down, and you look like, Because you got people going, hold on. What,
and then you get a paddle board of whiskey brought to you, and everybody's like, who is this guy?
So is the book about to flip over? Are we close to a flip?
We actually, Dalton just went and looked today. I think the the Old Elk rum cask finish. Mm-hmm. There's about 3 or 4 pours of that left. And I don't know that we have a backup of that. I was thinking about maybe putting this on there, because it's different, and it is a single barrel product. It's not a barrel pick necessarily, but I kind of want to give another liquor store a chance to kind of get on there, because we do put on there who we get it from. We have a cute little phrase from somebody that tasted through it that we kind of do on there, but we'll maybe see what we got still in the restaurant.
And I'll say this: we've got a good tasting panel. We recruited some good palates, so you should have some bottles put up for the next one.
We do. We have a couple. We've had a couple accidents. There was one day, I'm not selling anybody out at the restaurant, so you know who you are, though. Sold out a Weller Antique, and then I was off for 2 days. I come in there, and there's a half full Weller Antique with a gold sticker on it, and I was like, oh my god. And it was it was the Lavino pick that we had, and that was the second bottle of that had been on the shelf, and I was like, well, I guess that one's going to be a shelf product from now, and we'll just skip over that one. So I'll decide about that one, but it's Weller Antique. Everybody likes that.
For a cocktail program that's so popular at St. Leo, known inside the state, inside Oxford, regionally, nationally, whatever you want to call on it, what is sort of the goals for the bourbon program in related to that and in contrast to that? Because a lot of people obviously are ordering cocktails and different things and not at your bar, but for the bourbon aficionado and whatnot, what is sort of the range of what you hope to have on the shelves and available?
Okay, so for bourbon wise, I can speak to that a little better. So we have so much stuff on the shelf that they're not mirrored on both sides. It's like a different collection. Depending on where you start the bars, you get a different view, And we don't even have enough room on our menu. There's probably 30 or 40 things on the shelf that aren't listed at a time. Some of the more special bottles are really cool things we kind of keep up there more as trophies that everybody will be like, is that a Willett family estate up there? We're like, do you want some or not? But to the cocktail side, we pretty much always have a bourbon cocktail or a play on like an old fashioned or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I can't take credit for any of the cocktail program. I pretty much facilitate sometimes how things go, but we have 4 bar managers, and right now our bar director Dalton, he's really good about letting the team do stuff. So we have some new bartenders that might have been kind of nervous at first to put forward some cocktails and try some different stuff, and now I think our cocktail menu changes mid-November, and I think our whole bar team has 1 or 2 cocktails they're going to pitch for the idea and put on there. Now, to what we try to do, I have no idea. They come up with the wildest themes. I think the one right now is an Alice in Wonderland. We've done a baseball movie theme one. We've done
that hung around for a long time because Carol got the Marlowe Hooch for months and months and months.
Well, that one is still on the menu because I thought somebody was going to burn the building down when we took it off the menu. So that's like there's been like 3 house cocktails that I'm like fearing for my life having to go talk to a table about. I'm like, look, we can still make it under the Tuscan sun. I'm like, all right, let's just put it back on the menu. Like we're getting threats about this stuff. So I mean, they get really creative. I will say it's funny. The hardest time they have is naming cocktails. I mean they come up with the most intricate stuff, and then it'll be the day before it, and we're like, what are we going to... I know this last time we actually have also a spirit-free cocktail list that changes and themes with stuff like that, which is really interesting. Oftentimes it's a cocktail that they've come up with that's on the menu that we just remove the spirit from and make it interesting and stuff like that. But I remember me and Dalton were sitting there, and he was just like, man, I don't know what to name this. And I was like, what's vacation in Italian? And he was like, Ferragosto. I'm like, that's it. So that's pretty much what I have to go into those cocktail changes. I don't really have much to do with the creativity.
If you need a dessert and you've been overserved, the virgin espresso martini is very good. It is. It is
midnight espresso.
It is very good. Just saying.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
I'll also say there's a certain server in there that happens to make the best mocha you've ever had in your entire life.
Oh, Malik?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Malik is my guy, and every time I'm in there, he'll see us at the table, and he comes over and I'll say hi, and he'll look at me, and you know me. We talked about I don't drink coffee after lunch, after 12 o'clock. He makes me one of his mochas just all day long, buddy. Malik's outstanding.
We actually won Best Server in Oxford last year in the Oxford Eagle.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's not like you're speculating. He won an award for it, you know?
Yeah.
So you're not special is what he's actually
saying. No, I'm saying he's that good.
He has that pretty damn body, Steve.
Ounce I've heard. I really thought Malik. I thought that was just for us.
I've seen Malik do this, and he's not even, I don't think he even knew originally. He wasn't even in Malik's section. Yeah. He just shows up with it, and he's like, thanks. He's like, I'm actually in section 1 over here. He's like, appreciate it, man. Malik's great.
Malik's awesome. My guy. Art Chase, favorite cocktail ever from St. Leo.
I always start with a Sazerac every time. Even if I'm in a bourbon mood, I'm always going to get a Sazerac, and then depending on my day or if I see a bottle that is interesting, I'll either move to a bourbon neat or I'll move to a Manhattan after that. It's routine. I mean, back when Marissa was there, sometimes she would talk me into whatever the bourbon cocktail was to try, but typically it would be just, hey, I just need a small version of that. I don't want to commit to it. So very few of them, but it's a Sazerac is my favorite cocktail if done correctly. I can say this out loud. There's only 2 places in town that I will trust to make them. That's always the start. And then if you've had a bad day or you need something still popping, a Manhattan's the way to go because it'll knock you back for a second right there. So that's always it.
Yeah, I'm not a cocktail guy, and I can't even tell you what's in it. The starting pistol has always been my favorite cocktail at St. Leo.
What's interesting because when I first started working there, and not to mention, I tell people this all the time. I eat like a 7-year-old and drink like a 76-year-old war veteran. So I'm not very adventurous when it comes to food, but drinks I am. And I was like, bourbon and grapefruit. I don't know if I'm gonna like that, And I was walking around the restaurant real quick, and it was probably my second day, and I was like, what are all these egg white drinks with the bitters on top? Every single table had a starting pistol on it. And I think that was on our original cocktail menu. I wasn't around at that time, but I'm pretty sure it's been there for a long time.
It has. I think it's been there from the start.
Very interesting.
I couldn't remember.
I had to get talked into the egg. Like we had to,
the egg white.
We had to get there. It took a minute. Yeah. But it adds a nice viscosity. I understand what it's doing.
So tell us about, all right, so you've got...
Finish your drink, by the way.
We've got
to go ahead and get to the next one.
We're waiting on you to pour some more.
I'm talking too much. I'll go ahead.
No, like it. Tell me about 2, 3, 5 bottles you have on the bar right now that aren't easy to get.
Oh, God, let me pick. You get that? Right now we have a Widow Jane 15-year.
The Vault?
The Vault's very interesting. At one point... We have had every Widow Jane at some point, and we've never successfully had them all at the same time, and that's kind of for good reason. I mean, people buy it. It's not kind of the whole point, right? But I would say the Widow Jane 15, I'm a big Bernheim Barrel Proof fan. It only releases once a year to my knowledge, and we got one recently, and I loved it. That's one of the ones I almost got in trouble for because it was a 3-pack, and it's not cheap. And we still have a little bit of that Jimmy Red Corn 10-year anniversary whiskey, which is impossible to find. I mean, it's pretty much all gone now, but that's really good. It's really interesting. It's 100 proof as well, so it's not a big fireball in your mouth. The Kentucky Owl Batch 12, that's pretty good. A lot of people don't really know about that, but I mean, if you're a little adventurous, and it's delicious.
Kentucky Owl was great. Then it went down. Now they've got some pretty good bottles popping back.
It's an older bottle. I mean, I will say this: one time I'd seen it. I went to go get some cheap bottles for some of our new servers to try and practice opening corks. And I looked up there and I was like, "What the hell is that?" We were at well, I won't say liquor store it was. We were there and I looked up and I was like, "Is that for sale?" And he was like, "Yeah, I don't know." I was like, "Well, if you find out a price, we'll just email, give me a call real quick." And so he did, and I texted Joey, and she came back with both of them. And I was like, "Oh, cool." So we've gone through one, and I think we're on our last bottle now. But it's good and it's interesting. A lot of people don't really know what it is, but it's good. It's a Deadman Brothers product. So like he said, it kind of did go downhill a little bit, but they've picked it back up a little bit. So that's 4. So if I had to pick one more, probably the Penelope Valencia. It's a Penelope barrel proof that they age in an orange wine cask. It's very interesting. It's very different. It's pretty polarizing, but I enjoy it a lot.
So we're going to the Tintype next from Old Soul. It's their Series 1. It's from 2022. 7 years, uncut, old, unfiltered cask strength on this one. I believe 122. I saw it. Yeah, 122.3 on a proof. Again, you featured this in one of the Night of First, the bourbon event we had at St. Leo a few months ago, or whenever that was now. Time's kind of passing. But what made you include that bottle in that?
Well, the theme of it, we tried to do was the first one we did, right? The first one I did at least. So I tried to do one-off bottles. I wanted to feature Mississippi stuff. It was very interesting. This wasn't available yet also, but that was their first try at that, and I enjoyed it. Was able to get a couple bottles. We actually used the one of their first barrel picks that I was able to get my hands on from the distillery to make the old fashions that were the welcome drink that y'all had when y'all first got there. Yeah. So I wanted to throw them a bone on there, and plus the stuff's really, really good. So that was one of the reasons we picked that one.
Yeah, again, 122 on this one.
122 uncut, unfiltered, right?
Mm-hmm. This is it 21% rye or
juice out of the barrel?
They put it on there. I think your stuff's typically 18 to 22% rye, though.
There's a lot of rye in it. You can get it. It's
even coming from the 100 proof. I mean, it's not got much more heat than the State Collection stuff.
No, it's very good at 122.
It's got a good
about 122 proof.
Well, I like the finish on this better. It's got the pops a little longer.
See, he's changed. The rye thing.
Because I like a more rye heavy bourbon, and this is really good stuff. Like,
very different.
It's very good. It's.
What does that bottle retail for? Do you know? Anybody?
This one, $149. I think their batch 2 is $179 or $199, something like that. But it's in the $120 to $150 range, if you could find it. I have seen it on the shelf at some places, but every now and then it's gone.
What I really like about this is, despite the 122 and the heavy rye, there's still vanilla on the front. Mm-hmm. You're still getting that sweetness and that.
I'm getting some caramel with this one.
Yes.
It's funny. So 5 years ago, Chase, which one of those would I have liked?
Oh, you would have been taking this one home with the estate collection with you all day long.
And now I'm all about a good rye influence on the bourbon.
What's good is like for what their mash bill is, a spice that just beats you up. It didn't just kill your tongue to where that second, third pour, you're like, I don't know if I'm picking up the same thing I got the first ride. It holds strong.
All right, I'm going to test you a little bit, Spencer. I'm not meaning to put you under the gun, but one of the things I've always enjoyed, I've always thought Emily, at St. Leo, really fair priced with your bourbon so many times. You go into places and right or wrong, and Chase knows this, traveling everywhere, all over the country, all over the world, and I sit in a bar and I get the menu, the bourbon menu, and I'm going to look for 2 things. I'm going to look at Eagle Rare, E.H. Taylor, and I'm going to see what you're charging for them.
Right.
And I hate to say it, in my mind, I know what Eagle Rare is, what, 12 or 14 at y'all's place? Mm-hmm. E.H. Taylor, maybe 18.
Yeah, we have, depending on which ones we have, I think it's like 18, maybe 22 for the single barrel. And if we have something more rare, like a straight rye or a barrel proof, it's never going to be more than like $30.
And I can't remember the last time I was in another restaurant where I could get Eagle Rare for 12 or 14, E.H. Taylor for 18, or single barrel for 22. And I like that. I've always enjoyed that. I'm that guy. I struggle in restaurants because the bourbon prices are, typically you look at it and I go, for the price of your glass, for the price of 3 of your glasses, I can buy a bottle.
Or less. Sometimes.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's just it's crazy now. Hey, but I'm all about it. You got a tough bourbon to get, hard to find or whatever. But I've just always thought you'd do a great job with your pricing. Like you said, you made it affordable for everyone to try it in there.
Right. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean,
yeah.
Well, because drinking bourbon's fun, man. Part of all what it is the community of it. And the last thing you want to do is scare somebody away from something. And I mean, like I was saying earlier, I think Kentucky Owl, for example, like that bottle retails for like $325, $375, and that's not even like frim prices or getting taxed on anything. So I mean, one of the cool parts is, and you can come in there and taste something that you might have seen at High Cotton or seen at Social, and maybe been a little timid to spend $90 on a bottle you never tasted, and you come in there and spend $14 and go, oh, cool. Or you can say, I'm glad I tasted that, didn't waste my money on that, which is based on their opinion, But the last thing we want to do is scare somebody away from trying something different. I mean, there's certain bottles, BTAC stuff or things like that we kind of hold back so somebody doesn't walk in there and go, what's the most expensive thing you have? Cool, we'll take 5 of those. Because I don't really enjoy that. There's certain people that walk in, like if you walked in and saw an EH barrel proof and it was $28, you'd probably have a couple, But if it was $75, you'd go, this place sucks. Because that's ridiculous.
I might or might not recall Mark Bell and I sitting there a couple of years ago and having EH single barrels for like $18 a pour, and we might have had multiple long pours.
Just hung around for a minute.
Just because the company was so good.
Well, I remember y'all were at table 45, and y'all were in the corner, and I remember the server repeating back. So 3-Weller Special Reserves, right? And I thought Mark's hat was going to shoot into the ceiling, and he made sure they were aware that was not what he was trying to order. But I was like, hey, I got it. I'll take care of it, man. We got it.
I know the lane.
Yeah, it was.
We're doing here.
It was funny.
It's fun. I put a couple drops of water in this. It does open it up just to try, see what it did there. But it's even neat. It's excellent. It's really really good.
Oh yeah.
A lot of baking spices, a lot of rye. That front early palate does have the caramel, the vanilla, some sweetness to it, and then it finishes heavy rye, deep, long finish off the rye that I really like. I like for it to leave a bit of a mark on the way out.
And it does. It's got a nice finish on it. It really does.
I get a little chocolate now after it sits there for a minute. I mean,
the water does that too.
Yeah,
it pulls chocolate out.
It's good. It's viscous. It's kind of almost like oily. It's really really good.
Favorite thing on the food menu right now?
You're going for a second pour.
Yeah, I want to do a little splash like you said.
Okay.
Currently, I will say the lemon spaghetti. I mean, I definitely have been lobbying hard to get it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
it is.
That is.
Really?
I would have never thought lemon, cheese, pasta. Like
That's
I said,
not
I eat like a child, and it's just so delicate.
My wife and daughter will shoot you over that.
Really?
Oh, yes. No. In fact, I think Sammy went in for lunch one day and didn't have it for lunch or whatever, and I thought she was going to cry. They'll shoot you over that.
It's great. It's delicate. I mean, you can finish the whole plate, and you don't get to the door and go, oh my God, I need a nap before I go back to work. It's light and it's delicious. I mean, that's one of my favorite things we've ever put on the menu, much less right now.
Wow.
It's kind of not even close.
Okay.
I mean, it's really, really good. Well, that, and I'll say if you want to go back a couple, the mezzi rigatoni we did with our house-made fennel sausage and the vodka sauce.
See, I prefer, was it the bucatini with the...
Oh, no, the mezzi alla vodka. I'm thinking not the mezzi rigatoni.
Yeah, the bucatini with the, what was the meat? The stew.
Alla matriciana. Are you talking about the Sangiovese stuff or the stuff with the pork belly?
The pork belly.
Oh, that's on the menu right now. We just put that back on the menu.
Okay, yeah. Because it stews down and really, 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 really good.
Pork jowl, not pork belly.
I know what you meant. Yeah.
All right, and my favorite pizza lately is the pepperoni with, and you'll have to...
Pepperoni sauce and speck.
The Calabrese honey, or maybe it's that one, and I add pepper. On which one is it?
You get the bacon jam and Calabrian chili honey. And add
that is
pepperoni.
that is the play. That is the play.
That is the pro move right there.
Yes.
Right, Spencer, run that one more time.
Okay, it's bacon jam and Calabrian chili honey with pepperonis. Okay, if you come in there and
order the bacon jam, add pepperoni.
Right, they'll know what you're saying. But if you order that, I guarantee you, whoever's sitting on an expo is like, what employee is out there. Everybody that works there eats that, or if you've been there over 20 times, the server's probably
suggested the pepperoni, and you just went, oh my god.
Because my wife's bad about telling people at the bar that they'll order it from like 8 seats down, and she's like, add pepperoni. She's like yelling at them down the bar, and it's like, hey, most time they go, okay, fine, all right. If you're that committed to it, we'll go ahead and we'll take you up.
Well, the bacon jam's kind of sweet, and the pepperoni's kind of add a little salt there. Where they kind of really help each other out on that, but it's delicious. But that used to be what I get, but I get the Bianca with fennel sausage. It's like our all-white pizza. Oh. That fennel sausage is real salty. No offense to Green Hill cheese, but I do get no Green Hill cheese because I almost choked on a chunk of that and died one night. So I do lead off the Green Hill cheese, but it is delicious.
I've gotten the Bianca with pepper. I'm a huge pepperoni.
Oh, yeah.
I've definitely gotten it with that before. We take friends there all the time. They're like, looking at the menu, what do you like? I'm like, anything on here. I have never, since this restaurant opened, had anything in this restaurant that I didn't love. And little secret there, the white beans. White beans are...
I know so many people that have tried to recreate those at home. I get that as a podcast question all the time. Is, what's the recipe?
We might or might not even have gotten the recipe, and you still can't duplicate it.
It's like a 3-day process. If you're going to do it the right way, and I mean, no one wants to put that time in, that is literally all I'm going to say about it, because I've literally signed documents saying I wouldn't talk about it, but our white beans are... Oh, yeah.
There's NDAs on these recipes?
Well, not the white beans specifically. You know what I mean?
Well, personally, I wouldn't be surprised by it.
But it all but said, don't go on a podcast and give the white bean recipe away. So I'll leave that to Emily to spoil if she wants to come on here. But that's not my story to tell.
Yeah.
But I will say it's a very labor-intensive dish.
A couple of drops of water, I like it better.
It opens the chocolate.
Yeah, I get chocolate off of it now, but it loses a little bit of the pop. I'm going to prefer it without it, but now I like it with this because you definitely pick some chocolate up out of it.
I prefer it without the water, but it does change the drink, and it's good.
Well, this is one of the things.
It's an 8. It's an 8.
Yeah, that I like to taste on like a Big Rock, right? Because as soon as you get it at a table, or if you're sitting at the bar, which is a preferable way to drink if you're going to sit there and get something on a Big Rock, because it's not going to be any type of diluted by the time you get it. You can kind of drink it through the proof. You can get it. It's not even cold yet. The rock's in there. You taste it barrel proof. Then at like halfway through, you're probably at 100. It gets a little weaker. Normally, I don't let it get that far down before it's gone. But you get to kind of taste it through the proof points, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy tasting new stuff on a Big Rock. I can taste the meat first. But
it might have been right before we hit the button, but you mentioned you opened something a couple days before, and necessarily you don't love just opening it right out of the bottle and drinking out of the neck. What is it about that? What is it that like you to sit for a minute?
People have a lot of opinions about that. I am very much against like the whole the neck pour is terrible thing. I mean, if you go online and look at reviews on something, you'll see that people. I mean, there is some science to this when it comes to oxidization. The same reason why you'd like decant wine or something like that if it's a little tight. But people will say, I opened it up, everybody raved about it, I tasted it, it was terrible. Then 3 months later, I went back and tasted it, and it was great, right? Because there's less surface area exposed to oxygen there, right? Same thing that happens when you decant it into a wider decanter, There's some truth to that, in my opinion, some not. But if you pour that in a glass, let it sit for 30 minutes.
Same thing.
Same exact thing.
Yes.
Right? So I'm never going to pour something straight out of the bottle, take the lid off, and just taste it within 10 seconds. If anything, I let it sit for 15, 20 minutes. Now, I'm very superstitious. Like I said, I opened this a month ago, and I've probably flipped this bottle, got the cork wet, and took the top off once a day since that day just to make sure it was all perfect.
Oh, wow.
So is this your last bottle of this?
That is the only bottle of that. I got that as a huge favorite. This is probably one of the bottles that I've hunted for a long time. This actually
You're starting to make me feel a little guilty and bad here as we get close to this bottle. Steve's up here Steve's laughing like a jackass.
Let me back to the spoiled thing, which I probably said the word spoiled 13 times already. This bottle has sat unopened on my kitchen counter for 3 years. And you can ask, I've never had a bottle for more than 3 days.
We're referring to the E.H. Taylor everybody in pod form here.
Yeah.
So why did you open it when you did then?
Well, because you said there's a chance I'd be on here, right? So I was like, I'm going to bring something that I super enjoy because I've had several of the other ones.
So you went ahead and drank it down 70.
Well, I had it about here, okay? And then I was like, maybe he won't ask. I'll just go ahead and drink a little more, right? And then it got to there. I'm like, okay, that's definitely a solid 3 pours, maybe a couple extra tries. And it was just, that's one of the ones where you can get carried away. It's so good. And you kind of pour a drink, you look away, and you're like, oh, God, happy accident there, But it is so good. And another reason I haven't opened it, not trying to beat you up about this again to make you feel bad, the last sell of this I've seen online was like $995 to like $1,200.
And that was my next question: was what is the actual price to replace this bottle at this point?
You can, if you somehow count your lucky stars and get an allocation at a restaurant, you might pay $49 for that bottle through the state. If you find it online, you'll be lucky if you pay under $1,000. Especially, it's a 6-year-old. E.H. Taylor, so it's not a new one.
Yeah, I was thinking retail in a liquor store is going to run around 190 to 100. I think for the barrel proof, because I think what the single barrel is going to run 60. Small batch 45, something like that.
Yeah, well, retail, I mean, they're going to make some money on it too. So I mean,
right. Retail's a different price than what you get or whatever. But I used to get a bottle of this every year up until about 3 years ago. I made the mistake of being out of the country 2 falls in a row, and I lost a lot of my contacts. Because it's one of these once a year. I think it's a once a year release.
Yeah, it comes out with the BTEC stuff. It's once a year.
But it's always been one of my favorite pours. And as soon as you said it was an 18, I started trying to run it back through my mind. And I'm pretty sure I had the 18, and I'm pretty sure I thought it was one of the best EH barrel proofs I've had. So, some people call it too hot. I call
your ability to just say that is number one is actually even impressive, because if you ask me that question, I go, well, there was that, but then there was that, but then there was that. Yeah. I don't know that I have just, oh my God, this is the thing that did it.
Well, I will say this was one night's worth of work right here. I will say I probably tasted that beside, maybe 14, 15 different things, and there was never once that I thought it was close.
So
this is right.
We have an upcoming episode where we're going to taste
high proof bourbons. 3
really high proof bourbons. So maybe we save a little bit of this baby for that.
Well, if y'all are going to blind taste them too. Right?
Yep, we're going to blind them.
I would love to see the results of that, and it won't hurt my feelings no matter which way I
go.
go.
That was forward, Spencer. That's what that was.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
The best bourbon Spencer's ever had. That's what we have in our hand here.
No, come on, man.
This is what you said.
No, I'm saying I smelled it. I was saying
he's in mood here.
It's already halfway there.
He's like getting mood change. Everything.
Sorry. All right, right off the bat, what did we say? This is
129.7.
The nose is sweet,
and you don't get any alcohol vapors on the nose.
Well, that's because part of it, like I said, it could be superstition. 10 times oxidized, and you don't have that,
the medicinal
really tight.
Nose on it.
Yeah.
I'm scared to drink it.
No, not at all. I didn't plan on taking that bottle home, regardless of what we would do with it. So.
Sucks, right?
That is just so beautiful.
In my opinion, this is what bourbon is supposed to taste like. That was whole. E.H. Taylor is literally the person who fathered the Bottled and Bond Act. You know what I mean? He's my goat when it comes to bourbon. You know what I mean? And this is the best product I've ever had from them. They make a barrel proof rye now, but
that is 129 proof.
0.7. This is our 4th hottest batch they ever released.
Unbelievable. And I drink it.
In a blind, what would you say the proof was?
Oh, I don't know. See, I'm not a big proof guy when it comes to that.
110 is what I had in my mind.
Yeah, I will say. I'm surprised when we blind all of our barrel tastings. I'll sit there and the first time I did one, I remember I would just sit there kind of fanboying out, watching like Aaron and Wes be like, and I brought the bottles in here, and they're like about 117 and a half, and I'm like, damn, do they even know how close they are right now? And at the end we say it, they're like, oh, I was off by 2 points. And I'm like, I would have been so off, And
I'll say this, last year's drank hot.
Yeah.
Last year's EH barrel proof did drink hot, in my opinion. Yeah. That's just a caramel vanilla bomb, just chewy, and then you just get this right in the middle, this flood of sweetness, and then it's just a pop. I won't say cinnamon pop, but there's a pop to it.
The finish is miles long.
And it just goes and goes and goes.
It sits right there.
It's one of those, I used to do this. I would have a sip and I would close my eyes and I would count until it went away. And this is one of those I would be counting for a very, very long time.
If they could make this into a gum, I would chew this all day. If I could just have this flavor in my mouth at all times. I know I sound like a raging alcoholic saying that, but this flavor is amazing. I would say this, and one of the cool things, if you already know this already, sorry, but so their E.H. Taylor barrel proof, their mash bill on this is the exact same mash bill of the George T. Stagg BTAC stuff. the difference is this is anywhere from, I think, 8 to 10 years, and the George T. Stagg is double that. So it's the exact same mash bill you're going to get on a BTAC George T. Stagg, just in my opinion, in that sweet spot of 8 to 10, 11 years without getting a little bit of the oakiness, tobacco, leather that's sometimes off-putting to some people that haven't had,
Chase, talk to me about flavors. I called caramel and vanilla. Are you getting anything else? Yes.
Oh, a million things. I mean,
I was trying to figure out what your finish is where I was kind of sitting right now to figure out what that is that you're talking about. Because it's not cinnamon, but it's spice. It's
It's funny, but like
it's orange zest.
Right,
a ton of orange zest.
Okay,
right
I was about to say that,
the
yeah.
finish is even still sweet. It's sitting on the back, and now
So I'm saying it has a very citrus finish.
It's like
it's.
I still, I get marzipan. I get.
It's dreamsicle.
that's good. I mean, at first, like the first sip you get, it's kind of like almost somebody whispered the word orange into your ear, and you're like, kind of. And once it sits there a little bit, you've had time because it is very oily. I mean, you can look at the legs on the glass.
Yeah.
I mean, this is thick stuff. I mean,
maybe the finish I'm thinking about is the orange dreamsicle.
Yeah,
maybe so. I mean, the orange zest I got, because it doesn't really have the meat of an orange necessarily in it, but I mean.
and it's an orange zest, not a citrus zest. Like not lemon,
Right.
not lime. It's orange.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. There's a sweetness with an orange at the end that is.
Is it Tillamook?
That's the cheese.
That's the cheese.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, they do make ice cream too. Yeah.
So at Kroger right now they have an orange vanilla. It is. It's like an orange
it's a
cream
sherbet
vanilla.
kind of flavor.
Yeah, and it's a special release, and half of it's orange, half of it's
like that.
vanilla. Oh yeah, and a cream, and that's what I'm getting right there.
I mean, you get brown sugar. I mean, I hate when sometimes you'll sit around and somebody just says caramel vanilla on 12 things, and you're like, okay, give me more. You know what I mean?
Because that's bourbon. Okay.
But this is textbook bourbon in my opinion. You should get all of that. It should be outright. You shouldn't be really chasing some very obscure tasting profile. It's supposed to be the perfect version of whiskey, in my opinion. And that's where you get that caramel, all that stuff. It's also I'm pretty sure this is char 4 stuff. So, I mean, this is charred for like 55 seconds. It could be char 3, but I mean, it brings out all that stuff in the wood that kind of has all the wood sugars and I don't want to nerd out on it, the lignans and all the oaky lactones, whatever they're called. I mean, you get all that in there, and it's, like I said, it's my favorite stuff, man.
That finish.
It's beautiful.
It's the best finish I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
whoa.
It's the best finish I've ever had. Because it's
Look what
sweet,
you've
it's
done,
long.
Smith.
No, seriously though.
No,
because
right.
of the length.
Usually you don't get sweetness with a finish.
Yeah. It doesn't have some heavy, just sharp, knock you in the head.
and this is one of the things to me is like, I'll sit there and basically make enemies with the last drink in my glass because I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this or not.
Well,
the perfect pairing against this would be, the 19 Stag? It's the Cherry Cola Stag?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Stag Junior?
18 or 9, no, Stag.
Oh, George
T.
Yeah,
2019.
Yeah, GTS. Yeah. I think it's 19, and that would be the pairing against this. Is you get this sweet, long, biting orange zest versus...
Like I said, same mash bill. You just got a little extra age.
Well, no, and I'm sitting here regretting. I poured myself a tiny pour because I was wanting to save some, and I gave y'all generous pours, and I'm already out. And
I think you have other options. We can kill that bottle here, and I'm not going to have my feelings hurt. Like I said,
no. I've got to save it because I've got a William LaRue Weller. I've got an 11-year purple top Willet, and then we're going to add this to it. I think Chase and I on our next episode or an upcoming one, we're going to do a blind tasting.
I'm really that episode as a tease is interesting to me because when you say those three in my head, I rank them already in my head pretty hard.
So tell me your ranking.
You're probably going to fall out of your chair here, maybe get frustrated at me. I have the Willet a distant third out of those.
You know what?
And it's not.
No.
I'm going to have to be convinced that it gets anywhere near those other two, those other ones.
Well,
and now the WLW has gotten worse at times.
Well, I won't say it's gotten worse.
It was so high.
Yes.
Relative to its previous iterations.
You mean the flavor profile, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I've had.
Mac Nichols is ready to come punch you right now. So he's.
I'm on your team.
I've had the WLW or the Willet?
No, the WLW, the William LaRue. He's still all day long is calling William LaRue.
Well, look, I'll go ahead and tease this.
Years.
I'll tease this from last week's episode.
All right.
This is true. So you had brought a William LaRue Weller to us last week.
Yep.
We talked to Wes Milligan, the ALZ episode. If you haven't listened to it, go find that on Spotify. So we typically take a drink of something just to get bourbon in our mouth and start the process prior to the show. Well, because he came in with a WLW, Steve poured me a glass of of William Lurie Weller as my palate opener last week.
Because I'm such a
because that's something that happens. But
I need a small one more taste.
And when I got done, I told Wes, and I was completely serious, and I wasn't doing it to butter him up or do anything else. He had the Four Roses, which was his best barrel pick they had done to this point for ALZ.
Yes.
You know what the recipe was? What was it, OESO or OESK?
OBSK.
The rye?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
and by the way, Paul McAway sent me a photo today.
I saw that. I got it.
They were doing
they did a Jack
with Jack Daniels for Indalls, and he sent me a picture of the Four Roses and said, "Hey, maybe we are or we're not trying this beforehand." I'm like, "You jackass!"
So, point being, that Four Roses barrel pick was better than the William Lurie Weller that I had tried beforehand.
I was going to say,
come on, it was.
Don't argue.
Four Roses is great.
No.
I mean,
I get it.
It was.
It was one.
It was not the best drink we had that day.
So maybe I'll remove the William. But see, here's the.
This is why it's fun to rank them blind.
But if we blind that, we'll see. I'm going to consider replacing that with something else. We'll see.
what were the three again?
A William Lurie Weller, this, and then a purple top. Willet 11 year.
Those are two really different mash bills. I mean, probably.
No, right, and that's what I want. Yeah. I want 3 different mash bills.
But you want 3 different mash bills, but you don't want to be able to identify by taste. That's the biggest issue with the blind ranking.
With those 3 for sure. I mean, I would know right away. I mean,
you say that
if I didn't know, I would.
Okay.
I would put a lot on that.
I have been embarrassed in many blind.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, if it's this Willet in a Weller product, I like my chances on that. I've definitely been embarrassed before. I mean, I used to do it at the restaurant all the time just to kind of test myself and get my palate going. I'd get Sawyer, which shout out Sawyer if you're watching this. I miss Sawyer so bad. You remember Sawyer?
Oh yeah.
He'd go to the other side of the bar and I'd let him pick anything over there. And he'd bring it to me. We'd do 4 or 5, and I'd get 2 guesses. And I swear, I made a fool of myself so many times. And it's actually helped hone my palate a little bit, but it was a fun little game I played. But
did you find yourself missing in any single direction? Like you didn't identify something particular when you're doing that?
I think the problem is we just have so much stuff. There's so many options. I mean, I've guessed Bullet 10 year, and it'd be like a revival Jimmy Red Corn single barrel. And I'm like, I was so off. About corn content, all that kind of stuff. But most of the time, I'm pretty close on the mash bill. It's the proof point that throws me off.
Yeah, sure.
Once I've had 1 or 6, I'm like, the proof point kind of disappears on trying to judge that blind. But
this just sits in your mouth forever.
Yeah. I mean, I still hadn't even tasted this before, and I still taste it.
When I say beautiful art, so do we get Wes or Mac to join us when we do the blind on the high proofs? That's a thought.
Talking about Mac Nichols?
Yeah. I mean, 2 best palates in our club.
Well, the goal would be to confuse them. That would be my goal.
Well, you wouldn't. Okay.
It may confuse us, but it probably won't confuse them.
For one, they can't watch this because if they know what 3 those are, I can guarantee you they're going to know exactly which one it is.
Yeah.
Because we've done a pick before to where we have had 16 bottles, which is an irresponsible amount of things to taste through. You know what I mean? And make notes. It's not. We did it, but it's not. Like I said, it took 2 times to try.
That's not scientific.
But literally, I went like this. And I think it was Wes, got right here and goes, Flintstone vitamins, Dickel, don't want it, and just pushed it away. No, I enjoyed some George Dickel stuff, and he just pushed it away, and he was just next. And I kind of looked at it, and I was like, he didn't even know that I brought one. It was a very old 15 year. I think it was from Social that everybody else liked, but he knew exactly what it was and was like, nope, before it even hit his lips. I was like, damn, that guy's good.
Well, he's small.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's like one day. See, I think it was the same tasting. Maybe it was the one before that. We were going around and we were trying to do little quotes for the bourbon book, right? So we were all tasting through everything again and trying to see the first thing that came to our mind. And Wes was like, "Oh, I'm not a big talker. I don't really do all that." And Steve was like, "This is like a porch pounder." And he goes, "So you would say it's quaffable?" So he goes, "Shut up." But yeah, he would know. Maybe they didn't watch it first and you gave them all 3 of those, but you have to.
You know what? I think we could still challenge them if we did that.
Oh man. I would bet on them. I would bet on them to identify them and probably still rank them to their own personal likeness. But every time I've tasted stuff with them, I'm still surprised.
That sounds like a challenge, Chase.
Oh, my money's on them. If y'all want to put some money on it.
And we need a fourth. We'll figure out a fourth bottle. Something.
You should do a mystery. Well, they should let them pick something y'all don't know what it is. So that way they have a little dog in the fight here.
I'm trying to think what else. You know what? I've had some super good Old Forester barrel proofs. Got a couple back in the vault that are really strong.
Do you have a Bender stash?
And I've got some Bender stashes.
That would stand up to those. I mean, Old Forester's going to stand out.
So I've got a Aaron's Bender stash. I got Seth Weinberg's Bender stash from Nashville, and then I've got a couple of Indall's barrel Bender stashes.
Well, those two would be the best. Those two, because I mean, Seth's is 10 years, Aaron's is 9.5 years, and they're both great and somehow noticeably different, in my opinion.
You know what? We might slide the 10-year in.
I mean, have you tasted that before?
No.
You haven't tasted it at the restaurant?
No, I don't think so.
So
it's hiding up there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You think what we can and can't disclose. Let's just say it might be a juice that I really like, and you said you're not so high on. That was their mash bill, made it a different distillery, but it's their mash bill.
Well, they age it though, right? It's pretty much an aging house that ages juice. Yeah. That it's supposed. If you look up their website, you get very little information. They don't care. I don't know if they even want anybody's business for the way they put stuff out, but I've never had anything that was even close to bad from them.
That's what Josh Bodie sent out that group text.
That was, yeah.
Oh, that hurt my feelings. I was like, there's a membership for this? And it's this much? I was like, oh my God. And he was like, yeah, they're pretty much already sold out of them. I'm like, why'd you even say anything, man? I was like,
you know what? That hurt. Good guy to get on the podcast. We need to do that.
Josh Bodie? Oh, yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, we want Bodie on
for
there.
Sure.
Bill Bender.
Oh, yeah.
So which of these two did you prefer, Spencer? The two Old Souls?
That's tough. I mean, they're both so different to me in different ways. I mean, this speaks more to my palate, and it's so interesting. And like I said, that candy corn flavor I get from this, I've only ever had from that Jimmy Red Corn 10-year, which is retail 6 times the price of this. You know what I mean? And this drinks and lives up to that, in my opinion. And also, this is exciting, right? Because this is the first one they've ever put out. I mean, it's so promising that this is what we're going to get in the future. You know what I mean? It's only going to get better from this. So, I mean, it's just, for me, this one probably, for sure.
See. You picked
the rye. I mean, we knew you to say that.
The rye. I did as well.
I'll go cast strength. Yeah.
But if these were on a shelf together, this would be 6 rows higher. I mean, it wouldn't even be close. I mean, this would be
and no offense to Old Soul. Those things would be 6 rows.
Absolutely not. This is a 7-year-old distillery. They've been doing this for since the 1800s. This is their first juice ever. This has been out for 300 years or so. You know, I mean, it's not even, that's apples and oranges. So I would love to taste this in 300 years, God willing, and see how that works out.
Funny story with the H. Tater, the first ever Branchwater, the first ever meeting we had back in 2014. I can't remember his name, but a guy that was at the original meeting, his great step-grandfather was Colonel E.H. Taylor.
Really?
Or great. Somewhere in that lineage.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, why aren't you bringing us caseloads of this stuff?
Exactly.
Wow.
Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I've told that story before. Do you remember what won that night? We had 8 people, 8 bottles.
You told me this, but I don't remember.
It was a Widow Jane.
10-year or?
No, just plain Widow Jane. I bought a H. Taylor small batch. Dan Blunt brought a Widow Jane. Dan, from his time in New York, brought a Widow Jane 10-year. And it probably was one of the first Widow Jane bottles in the state at that time, and everybody absolutely loved it.
We buy it by the case now. I mean, we keep it on the shelf. I mean, it's great.
No, so good. You know, and
they were bought by who?
Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill, okay.
So, Chase, you've talked about the 12-year.
Yeah.
You've talked about the 12-year.
I have.
The 12-year's not available anymore.
Yeah.
And been around in a while.
It has.
Steve might have acquired a 12-year.
Did you get a bottle?
Oh, yes. So we might be tasting a 12-year.
Widow Jane 12 is one of the best bottles of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Have you had all of them, 13, 14, and 15?
I think so.
I gave you a taste of the 15.
Yeah.
I
think so. Yeah. And the Decadence. Yeah.
We all had that.
Which the Decadence is the 10 plus
the maple syrup.
Yeah, finished in the maple. Yeah, maple syrup.
Yeah.
Maple syrup.
And we reviewed it on a show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know, the coffee. Because you shouted us out for the dessert at the tasting.
It's so weird. The Lucky 13, what does it retail for? $150?
Something like that.
That's my least favorite.
But then you go to the 14 and 15 and it's $250.
Yeah. Yep. The 13 is my least favorite.
They charge you a lot for that extra year.
Yeah.
They're really proud of that one more year, it was a tough year at the time.
And I think somebody, Chase, posted on your board, they have a 20-year out now.
I saw that, yeah.
Widow Jane?
I have not heard of that or seen that.
Somebody did post that today, though.
I can't remember who posted that. I'm very interested in that. I would be very interested in tasting one of their 20 years.
I've never heard of that or seen it. It sounds awesome. I love Widow Jane.
So we'll quiz you last thing, Spencer.
Let's hear it.
Let's go under $125. What's the bottle for a gift you give somebody if you can find it?
$125 retail?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's readily available?
Yeah, when do you get your hands on it?
Within about,
I would say you can cut that price in half. I mean, Four Roses Small Batch Select drinks way past its price. If you can find Widow Jane, normally it's around $66, $75. That's way more than worth that. I'd pay $100 for that. Every now and then, Dan Lowry will sneak in a Booker's up top behind the register, and that's about $99. It's very polarizing whiskey. I put one in the bourbon tasting thinking that people were either going to hate it and love it, and everybody really liked that. That was the Mighty Fine batch,
right?
Which I loved.
Which is a good one.
And I was actually kind of nervous because I was like, man, you hear it's the worst thing I ever had, and it's not worth it, but oftentimes people just can't find it. You know what I mean? But I would say in that order, Small Batch Select, Widow Jane, and then the Bookers.
So you say that I have to throw out, what about Woodford Double Oaked or Peerless Double Oaked, because now it's on the shelf fairly often.
Man, I'm trying to think of a nice way to put this. I know people love Woodford Double Oaked, but for the price and the different stuff, this is what I tell people all the time. If you go out and you typically drink something that's 40, say every payday you go out and buy 2 bottles and just kind of stretch those for about 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. If you always go out and drink Woodford Double Oaked, I challenge you to spend $60, $70, buy something different, try it out. If you hate it, you hate it. That's how I've built a collection, right? But if you go back to that same bottle every time, you know that's your favorite. You know, I was a huge Woodford Double Oaked fan until I had like a decadence in different things to where when I try to sway into like a really sweet bourbon,
but now it's just completely different in a way.
Well, it's similar proof points. I mean, the flavor profile to me is similar, but I mean, I don't hate Woodford Double Oaked at all. It's just for the price point and the proof. There's a couple things I'd probably pick up over that, but I still think it's a great whiskey, especially if you're gonna make a cocktail with it. I mean, it's an expensive cocktail to make, but it's delicious. But
Chase, under 125, I'm throwing it at you. What would you do? And this is
125 is a good friend. By the way. That's a great friend.
I mean, honestly, 125 is a hard one because it's really hard to find a lot like 1 to 125. Like, it's actually a bad
because the
price
75 to 100 is so weird.
Yeah, Booker's is the only thing I can think of you'll see in that mid range.
I'd actually probably save some money and do like an Old Forester 1910. I like the 1910 because when they like
that's
it,
only $50 or $60.
I know. When they find it, they can get it again.
Oh, you're save money by
else,
buying that. Okay.
And then they go, "Hey, I really like this one. I think it could be a daily sipper or a semi-daily sipper," and you go from there.
Okay, wait. Can I change my answer?
Yeah, sure.
Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I mean, if you can find one for $90, $95, or maybe $100 sometimes, there's shout out JT Fitz. He works at Southern Glazers. He gets us awesome stuff. We just got 3 bottles of Old Fitz 10. Don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud, but we definitely just got 3 bottles of that. It's delicious.
Say that again. Oh,
it's on the shelf. There's a trophy on the shelf up there. It is. There's
so
a price.
You should have mentioned that earlier when I said, "What are your favorite bottles on the shelf right now?"
Well, I wasn't going to say that originally, but
some of the best.
Yeah, it's 10 year. I mean, that's in my sweet spot.
I've only had it this year. It's really, really.
This
good.
one is great, but awesome. He has and you know these people. It's NT Brothers, JT, and whoever Bob is.
Yeah,
they did Elijah Craig Barrel Proof that we had a couple bottles of. It is one of my favorite Elijah Craig products I've ever had. It is so good.
So I want to say it can't be any better than the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof that Mark and I did with Aaron not too long ago that matches right up. Now, NT stuff is really good.
That guy, was it Chris?
Yeah, Chris.
I've had
Chris
6 barrel picks from that.
Chris has some great barrel picks. So if you asked me that, Chase, I would say an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or a Larson Barrel Proof. You know,
I didn't even think about Larson.
You have your 3 to 4 A, B, C, D releases for each one of those, but to me they hit so good. If we're not talking barrel picks, because if you want to throw barrel picks in there, then I'm going to throw in a Russell's. I'm going to throw in a Forester. You just give me Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or Larson Barrel Proof, and we're rocking and rolling. Then if you stay away from barrel proof, I'm going with the Woodford Double Oaked. or Peerless?
I think the Larceny C9, I mean, most of them there's 3. So they do like 923. I think the Larceny C923 won like a bunch of awards like last year. I mean, it was great. We sadly just sold out of our last bottle of that.
The bottom line
batch,
is
but
there's so many good bottles out
Oh,
there.
All right, so we told you to cut it
It's
to 5. Now you get to cut it to 1. Everybody listening, when you come into St. Leo, what's the one glass they ask for on the shelf? One. Only one.
I would have to say, because I don't know if we'll ever get it again. I mean, that old Fitz 10 especially.
Okay.
I mean, the empty
There you
bottle
go.
sells online for like $150.
Oh, it's
I mean,
beautiful.
It is a trophy of a bourbon. I mean, it's beautiful, and the taste lives up to it too.
Okay. Old Fitz 10.
Not even close.
So, hey, let's do it again. Let's build some bourbon collections and things in the next episode. But appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, man.
We'll talk to you again.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, dude.